I am the Wacky Gamer of KGC Esports, and welcome to One Tap. So, for those whose first time on the show today, the goal of this show is to give you guys, the viewers, a clear shot of the people that make up the Philippine Valorant esports scene. From pros, casters, production roles, and many more, because without those people, without those roles, there would be no scene. So, today is episode 3, so if you missed any of the previous episodes, you can just check out our YouTube channel. And if you just want the highlights of today's episode, you can check out our Facebook page. The previous episodes were Rabbit, or episode 1, IGL of Hashira Esports, and episode 2 was the community mods of Valorant PH, Shock Result, and Aika. So now, other than playing for a team, there are other important roles. Coaches are one of them. Other than helping analyze the team's gameplay and aid in the direction of the team, at times they are also there to help the team through the tough times. Other games, such as League of Legends, where coaches have built a name for themselves, such as former SKT T1 head coach Koma. So joining us today is the coach of Galaxy Racer, helping the team make history in Philippine Valorant esports.
Hi, my name is Tr1cks. I am, I guess, known in the FPS scene because I was a CSGO player, formerly for Archangel FE, and moved to Blacklist International, and I'm now in GXR. Full name is Galaxy Racer, by the way, if you didn't know that. I started competing since I was very young, like in middle school, high school, also joining tournaments, competed collegiate in Americas for League of Legends, and moved back to the Philippines.
So coaching technically isn't your first stint or role here in esports. You were a former, as you said, CS:GO player, right?
Yes, I was a former pro CS:GO player.
So if it's okay, let's tackle more on that. How long were you a pro for? And technically, how far have you made it through the CS:GO scene? Because Philippine scene CS is not that established or big or known to everyone, but it's NA. So what have you experienced there?
I started competing in 2017. I competed in the North American tournaments in that year, maybe 2016 actually. I was playing on the ESEA, which is not as common in Asia, but it was very common in the US. We had the pro leagues there. I was in intermediate. I also competed in some tournaments in Canada. Female tournaments, I also joined IEM. But when I came to the Philippines, I went pro in 2018, and I made it to WESG World Stage in China. So we were top 1 in Southeast Asia.
So what made you switch to Valorant technically? Because it sounds like kind of decorated, but you've experienced and achieved certain things in CS:GO. What made you switch?
Honestly, I kind of felt like I needed a break from CSGO. I was joining some of my friends. They were playing it for fun, and tournaments started popping up. CSGO is really known for the LANs. I think you need LAN in order to compete in CSGO properly because we don't have as good of servers. It's really made for a LAN setup. It's an OG game. So for me, it was just a matter of needing to get that kind of high you get from competing and winning the competitions, playing with other players, realizing how the scene is growing, and it just kind of stuck with me.
Nice. So how did that from player to coach? How did that transpire?
Could you elaborate on that question?
So from CS:GO, and then when Valorant came out, did the thought of becoming a Valorant pro player come into your mind, or was it I want to be a coach for Valorant instead?
I had a timeline. Even for CSGO, I actually wanted to retire and become a coach. So for me, coaching was always the future I wanted to direct it at because I wanted to give space for the newer bloods, the people that are coming in, they're young, probably have better reactions than me, but don't quite have the same confidence or experience that some of the more decorated players would have. So for me, the coaching process is not just because I enjoy coaching or analyzing games, but it's because I want people to know that this is they can get there. You know, it's not that you wake up one day and you're the best, it's a grind.
So, so far, are you primarily working as a coach for GXR, or are there other things that you do on the side?
I am primarily a coach, but I have been standing in for the GXR female team while they're still finding their footing.
Actually, I would like to congratulate you because I also sometimes follow the female scene. So I would like to congratulate the Galaxy Racer team for winning Liga Darna Season 3. I actually watched the game, so I saw your name. So I'm like, wow, from coach to player.
Yes, they call me a playing coach. So if they need me to play in games, I will play for them. But I want to encourage the players in GXR also to realize that I had to work hard to get to that level, and I know 100% they will get there too. So
are you, because Galaxy Racer, for those that don't know in chat, is they have a male roster and female roster. I don't know if they have separate names for them, like C9 White, C9 Blue, but are you in charge of also coaching the female roster from time to time? Or is it just
I am
roster?
not in charge of coaching the female roster. That actually goes to Je, also known as Pizza FPS, and I primarily coach the male team.
Okay, so you're just from time to time, if you know they need a hero, they need someone to fill in. If someone's missing, you're the one that's the sub technically.
Yes, for both teams, essentially I'm a substitute player.
Oh, both teams, even the male, the main
Yes.
roster. Let's say the main roster.
Yes.
Okay, actually that's interesting. I didn't know that the coach was also a sub as well for. So in the VCT, when signing up, you're there as the sixth man technically.
From here on, I believe that is the case that we are going to take. But as I say, it's never my decision is going to override everyone else's, because the team's opinion is higher. It has more priority. The team's opinion as a whole has more priority than one coach's opinion, unless it comes to strategy.
I think that's something tackled also in episode 1 with Rabbit, where team chemistry is, no matter how good or how mechanically skilled you have in your team, if they don't really dwell together well, you know, if they don't have that team chemistry, it's hard to get far.
Yes, it is. It's very important, everyone. Team chemistry.
So other than being a stand-in for the female roster, being the coach, are there other roles that you do as a coach? What is your job? What does coaching entail?
I think this is a very personal question, and a personal opinion really is what I'm going to talk about. I can't speak for everyone else who coaches. I can't speak for the more decorated coaches that have coached for years. But for me, coming from being a player and now being a coach, I am the coach that I would have wanted and have occasionally gotten as a player myself, which is someone to guide me, not to tell me hard set rules, and if I don't follow a single thing, they're going to get mad at me. No, because I want my players to occasionally argue with me, make mistakes, learn from their mistakes, and realize that it's okay, because I'm their fallback. You know, if it doesn't work out, they really thought it would, but it didn't work out, they don't know where to go from here. It's okay, because there's somebody looking at it from the outside saying, this is what we can do. And it's true that there are different types of coaches as well. You have some that are more like life coaches, and you have others that are more tactical coaches. And I think I would lean towards more of a tactical coach.
So when you say tactical, technically it's like the analyst job and the strategizing in a way, if I'm
Yes.
correct. And when you're analyzing the team's games, doing VOD reviews and strategizing, is there a certain way you want to play a game and you tell the team, hey, I think this is what what we should be doing. I want you guys to try this out. Or are you the type of coaches that goes with the flow with what the team wants in terms of their team composition and play style?
It depends. It really depends on the team. There are times where I've said, can you do this for me because I want to see how it'll work out? They'll do it. They like it, so they continue it. Or sometimes they don't like it. They say, can we try something else? And it says, okay, go for it. If you want to change it, change it. I'm only offering it to you so that you break out of this shell that you might put yourselves in. A lot of players, when something works, they don't want to change it. But I think when something works, you have to think about why it works, figure out the strengths of it, and then build on that. Expand it. You don't want to just stay in one stationary position for too long.
With the GXR team, how many, let's say, iterations or changes that has happened over this? We could say also the VCT VCT stage 2, but it's the off season now, and every team is trying out new stuff in every tournament, like in the Vanguard Cup.
Yeah.
So how is GXR doing right now?
I think GXR, if we're talking about the male roster, they have changed a lot. I know there's a lot of chemistry that they're trying to find their footing in, trying to find the lock there. But in terms of mechanical and strategy, they have it down pat. It's just a matter of being able to bring it out in a tournament and being able to keep that kind of level-headedness where you have the confidence to take the peaks that you need to take, but you also have the discipline to understand when you have to stop.
And I think that's something I remember before also said about the discipline of players, knowing not to get, as we know here in the Philippines, the asim plays.
Yeah.
What do you think of the current playstyle or meta in the Philippines? Because Masters 2 just finished, and for the viewers that don't know, the Masters 2, we saw a lot of post-plant meta, having Viper, Astra, Sova. So it was more of trying to get that spike to not get confused. What do you think of the Philippine playstyle and meta?
I think right now in the Philippines, we're still highly reliant on winning a lot of the early duels. And because we have an early advantage, we take the site, they're playing for retake at disadvantage, we're able to win post plants. I think it's easy to say that, but then when you play the game, you realize you kind of have to take early duels a lot of the times. You can't rely on taking a 5-man retake because if the opponent realizes that too, they're just going to start pushing. And they're going to take even more info and deny you that info, have an early flank so that you're pinched on one angle. There's a lot to consider. So, but if I were to look at what I've seen so far in the Philippines as a whole, they're very strong, but they're just not as disciplined.
No. So in terms of the current level of competition in the Philippines, what do you think, or where do you think we're at Southeast Asia? Because we've seen X10 perform in Masters 2. If you were to look at the Philippines now, do you think, hey, we've got a shot for Masters 3?
I will always think that we have a shot for Masters. I think every team, every country has a shot for Masters. Because at the end of the day, every team is probably playing differently depending on which opponent or which team they're playing against. So for me, that's the tell of if they are a good team, if they're able to adjust to their opponents. And I need to see more of the Philippines playing against the top, seeing them in Masters to really see how they fare against the teams that are probably reading them just as well as they're reading them.
And because of course, I like that idea where every team, of course, has a chance to make it to Masters. What do you think is that bar, that wall that the Philippines is hitting right now that's not making us, that made us miss Masters 2? What's that wall that we have to break to reach Masters 3?
Don't be stuck in your heads. I know there's a lot of pressure there. I know that we don't want to make mistakes. This goes for every single match. You don't want to make mistakes. Some matches you know that you're better, so it's okay. You kind of make a few mistakes, but you think it's fine because you're the better team. I think when it comes to Masters, it's that mentality to not become toxic to either your team or yourself, and to be able to push through with everything that you've learned. So every single match, whether it is a small tournament or a large tournament like qualifying for Masters, have zero regrets when the game ends. And if that happens, you're going to come out as better players and smarter players, and you're going to perform better because you'll go in there with that confidence and with that drive to prove yourselves, you know?
It's a mental game technically in the end. No matter how skilled you are, if you take
Yeah.
everyone with the same skill level, it's the mentality that really changes if you're gonna be great or sink technically.
Yeah, you either rise and shine with the pressure, or you might just crack from it. Depends.
I like that. So if there's any teams here in chat right now or any players that are aspiring to become pro, you practice that mental fortitude to not give up. And talking about mental fortitude, first thing that comes into my mind is rank. The amount of mental fortitude that you need to play in Southeast Asia servers. But if I'm here, I want to become pro. Does my rank actually matter when I'm going to compete in VCT or in even these smaller tournaments?
I would say that your rank doesn't matter, but I would say that there is a bar to which it does matter. For example, if you are silver right now, saying you want to be pro right now, you need to think about why you are stuck in the silver ranks. There is always going to be a reason. I had it when I was stuck in diamond. I have it because I'm hard stuck immortal. I can't get to radiant. I admit it. I have lacking attributes as a player, and thankfully sometimes my teammates make up for it. But at the end of the day, each rank has a reason you're in that rank. For me, the easiest to differentiate are the diamonds and the immortals. The diamonds have great aim. Usually they're mechanically skilled. That's why they're up there in diamond. But what they're lacking is a malleability to adjust to their opponents, which is what would make them into the immortal ranks. It's reading not just player movement, but player skills and being able to adjust accordingly. So as much as I say, yes, rank doesn't really matter, I have to add that it matters to a certain extent. And there's going to be a certain bar at which they say this is acceptable, and to a certain extent, it isn't acceptable anymore.
Yeah, and I think, it also goes down to the rule book of Riot. If anyone's interested in joining the VCT, you have to be, if I recall, Diamond 2. So there is a certain bar that you have to reach. So
Yes.
to the viewers in silver, gold, and plat, or even iron, and you really love the game and want to go pro, find out what your mistakes are, what you need to do to get to that next tier. And you did say for diamonds, it's that ability to adapt and be flexible against the opponents. Is
Yes.
it okay if I ask you, what do you think iron, bronze, gold, or even in general, what do anyone below diamond or below gold need to do to really push their tier upwards?
Okay. Below gold, I would say your mechanical skills still need work. This is about being able to do the stop shooting. So, you have to jiggle peek, like kind of, just jiggle peek it and then stop and aim and shoot. But this occurs in like a split second. It's not like you have 3 seconds to do that. It has to become instant. And also to know when to stop spraying. Like a lot of players, when you're in the middle of a spray, you think to just keep going, hope a shot's gonna hit. But what you could also do is stop for like half a second and then restart your spray, because your recoil will reset. Then for the golds up to plat and wanting to go to diamond, from what I've noticed, aside from maybe some mechanical errors, especially in the gold area, is that you need to anticipate your own moves and your opponent's moves as well. So for example, let's say you lost the spike on ascent in A long. and you killed one person. So you're like, great, we got one person, then I can get the spike. But instead of thinking that way, you should think, because we had dropped the spike and the opponents know it's there, that probably means there's more than one person there. So you got one, but you have to look for the refrag. You have to think, where's this other person going to be hiding? Or what kind of skills can they use? If it's a Phoenix, you want to be concerned about a pop flash. She's going to flash a corner and going to peek you. Maybe you could wait before that flash pops. So you wait to hear it. Okay, Phoenix flash, you're going to peek because Phoenix is probably peeking at the exact same time. But you're probably going to win the duel because he's not sure where to look, but you are. So little things like that, I think, is what will differentiate or help the players from gold and plat get up to diamond.
So if I think to summarize, it's like work on your game sense in a way, really thinking ahead and not just what I personally call like autopiloting the game, where you're just you just run gun, get kill, plant spike. You have to really. It's a mental game where you really have to think. It's like chess. You can't just not think
predict
about
your
next
own
move.
movement. I would say, like, have a game plan for you. If this happens, I'm gonna do that. If that happens, I'm gonna do this. And if nothing happens, you also have to decide what are you gonna do still.
And because if I'm gold, technically I'm plat one. So if I'm playing this game, I played 5 games. I'm on a loss streak. When do I know I have to take a break, or what do I do to stop myself from tilting? As a coach, what's some advice that you've given to the teams you've coached to, or to not tilt?
Take some time for yourself. I think there's a drive that we all have. We want to improve, we want to get better, and I get it. But think about it in the way of, let's say you're training, like you're working out, and you get really tired. Are you going to push yourself to the point that you faint? Or are you going to call it a day and realize that maybe your form just isn't that good that day? And you realize that your muscles have to reset. I feel it's the same with your mentality. You have to give it time to reset. And it's not to say, that you have to stop forever. It's just to say that, maybe take some time, go watch a movie that you really like, do something that de-stresses you. For me, I always play the piano to de-stress, and I come back and I feel like it's easier to play. My head is clear, and it's the hardest to play when your head is not clear. You gotta clear it, guys. Like, you're tilted already. Stop playing. Just take a moment to breathe and realize that, remind yourself why you like the game. Because everyone, if you're grinding, you love it for a reason to a certain extent. So remind yourself exactly why it is you're doing it.
So that's a reminder to everyone in chat: stop rage queuing or tilt queuing. Give yourself a break. If after one game you feel like it's off, you play another game and it's way off. Don't force that third game.
Yeah, it might just be a sign. I know we say third time's a charm, but sometimes you just gotta call it quits and reset.
Is there someone in the GXR team that you're like, hey, you've been playing for 8 hours, or you gotta take a break? Is there someone like that you have to remind to take a break?
Maybe myself more so than anyone else. But I think I wouldn't say there's anyone I know of in GXR that I feel I have to say you need to take a break. Sometimes I say, I think you should take a break. I'm kind of feeling it. And they're just like, no, we don't want to yet. And it's like, okay, then, like, if that's a drive that you have, that's what you have. And again, as I say, that's why I ask my players a lot how they feel about the things we're working on, how we're practicing the strategies. And it's that open line of communication between the players and the coach that I think is really important.
And let's say I'm a player for your team. I keep grinding, but I'm not seeing, I've been having a bad day of rank and all that. And you say to, take those rests. But how, as a player, what should I do to stay consistent in terms of mechanical skill or maybe in game sense? If I have to take these breaks, what do I do in these breaks, technically?
If so, one of the things that I don't think a lot of people understand quite yet, or maybe they do, but they just forget. Your mechanical skills are literally muscle memory. Don't change your sensitivity. Don't change your mouse. Stop changing. It's not gonna fix your issues right away. You want to get comfortable with the setup you're at, and what you want to do if you take these breaks off of Valorant or any FPS, it's really to take a break from FPS. You know, like play something else, play a mobile game, or don't play anything at all. Watch Netflix, watch YouTube videos or Twitch streamers, and that's to me what you should do to reset. It's to get yourself out of your own head about I'm not hitting my shots and go to a game that doesn't really have those shots involved. And as I look at chat, I see Phasmophobia. I do know that some of my players, in order to de-stress, play Phasmophobia. I would never do that because I would cry in fear. But to each their own.
Yeah. And what's your opinion, though? As you said, it's all about muscle memory and all that. How about the anomaly that is Tans, who almost every day changes his settings and mice?
I understand. I change sometimes. I would say to be frank, if that's what you do every single day and you've done it for weeks or months on end, then I would say at that time, that's what you've memorized. Like, if he wants the flashy plays, he'd go with a high sensitivity. And those are usually his highlight reels. When it's a tournament, he's back to low sensitivity because he needs that consistent aim. So I would say think of it that way as well. What kind of sensitivity are you going to be playing at? I personally play at what other players consider as a high sense. But if you watch me play, it doesn't look like a high sensitivity because I'm not going for... Pardon?
May I ask, what is that sense?
400 DPI at 1.15.
Oh, okay.
So for some other players, they consider it relatively high, I think. But for me, it feels pretty slow. Like when I play, it feels really slow. So when I really want to focus my aim, I would drop it a little bit and I'd feel my sensitivity my aim control a bit more. But yeah, it's, for me, if you're one of those players that switch your sensitivity around a lot, maybe it's because you're still finding what's best for you. So try it out. It's okay to try it out. But for the people who are already professionals, be consistent. Try your best to be consistent.
And I remember you said something earlier about trying things out with the GXR team. But as a coach, as a viewer, or as someone in management, how do I know if the successes and failures of a team is due to the team itself, and when can I attribute it to the coach? So I think that's one thing where some orgs are a bit shaky on getting a coach or not, because they don't know how to the criteria to say if they're a great coach or not.
Yeah. A coach cannot be great without the player's trust. I think that's the first point I would have to make. If your players have someone that they want coaching them, I would say listen to that, because they have a reason why they trust that player so much. I am lucky that my boys have so much trust in me and want me to coach them. So shout out to them, that thank you for trusting me so much. But also it's just a matter of you win together and you lose together. And this includes the coach. And you can't blame just the coach if a loss occurs, but you also can't. It's a gray area for me.
Yeah.
Because the people who are supposed to put in the effort to listen to the calls, to to keep that consistency is essentially the players, not your coach. Your coach can guide them as much as possible, but if the players do not listen, if they do not follow, if they do not care even, then yes, you shouldn't get a coach because your coach will be useless at that point. But if they do listen to the coach, chances are they will improve because it's just an outside opinion. It's an outside thought that's coming into the game and saying, objectively looking at it, saying, okay, this is what you're good at and this is where you're struggling. So from there, they have to decide together, is what they're good at already perfected or close to perfection that they can leave it? Or do they want to make it perfect and then fix their errors? How will they minimize those errors? And I feel that's the coach's job. It's the coach's job is to figure out how to make the least amount of errors for the team, while the team's job is to optimize their performance.
And in following up to that, is there a moment where you feel that you really have to step in as coach? That, hey guys, because you said that trust is important, but are there times where the team is a bit unsure of whether to do what you want them to try? Are there discussions like that within GXR where
Definitely. There are definitely times they've told me, we don't really want to do that. And I say, okay, then we don't. It's that simple, like this is my opinion, but it's just one person out of 6 people essentially.
And I think, I think it's true where, as you said, sometimes there might be no need for a coach. Like Sentinels, they just won Masters 2 and they don't have a coach. I mean, if I recall, Shazam did say he wanted Sean Gers as his coach, but there's some commitment issues right now for Sean Gers. He's busy doing something else. But look, they won. They still won Masters 2 without a coach. And if I'm a org starter, and you did say if the players want trust someone, or if you see that the players need like someone to guide them, what are other indicators as a manager or as an org owner that, hey, my team might need a coach, they're hitting like a wall maybe?
It would be exactly that. It would be if the team is hitting a wall. You bring up Sentinels as an example about an org that doesn't need a coach that wins, but look at it another way as well. They never picked up a coach they didn't trust. Even though they wanted a coach, if they couldn't get that coach, they didn't get a coach at all. And I think that's the kind of thought process I commend that, because don't go for someone your team doesn't want. If you can't have what your team wants, maybe you don't really need that coach at all. But because there's something that person is going to give them that they're needing, but they also don't trust that somebody else is going to give it to the same caliber. So if I were starting an org thinking, when do I get a coach? It would be when my team asks for a coach. And if the coach that they want is unavailable, I would ask them, do you still want a coach? Because chances are they might say no, or they might say yes, because the only time I would say is when to get a coach is when your team starts to ask for one. Because that means they know they're hitting a wall and they're actively saying they want to fix it, but they can't.
So any org owners in the chat, or anyone that's planning to make a team and are thinking, hey, let's get a coach while forming the team, think first before getting that coach. Ask the team, you're still doing tryouts, so don't look for that coach. But let's say I'm an org owner, I already have a coach, but not the team. What should these coaches do, or what's their criteria when looking for these players having these tryouts and all that?
Personality. Check the personality of your players. You have to balance it. If you're going to be scouting players, you need to scout their chemistry with each other as well. So let's say you have one player that's slightly toxic, but not too toxic to the sense you want to quit the game, but toxic enough, like just slightly toxic, and you realize that they kind of have this temper with them. You want another player that can absorb that. You don't want a player that's just as toxic as him or her. And so you have to take that into consideration. You might get very good players, but are any of them hype players? There's background noise. Can any of them hype that person, or is one going to push the players further? Is the other going to absorb it? Is one absorbing too much? Are they all too quiet? You have to consider all of these factors when you do scouting for players.
So I guess when you're doing tryouts, don't just record the game. Hop in on that Discord call and hear how they're playing, I guess. Yeah.
Yes, you have to listen to how they're interacting with each other. So if you're going to be a coach, to anyone out there, you don't have to just be a skilled player or a smart player. You have to be able to read emotions and to be able to balance it or acknowledge when there's an issue in your team.
And you said you don't have to be a skilled player. You're looking at the personality. For these org owners or these teams that are looking for coaches, do you think they should have that, or they have to be immortal rank to be a coach? Because there are those requirements at times for teams looking for coaches. Hey, you have to have reached Radiant to be our coach. What are your opinions on that requirement?
I would say the reason for that requirement is necessary because if they're hiring a coach that they don't know, that's the only way the players are going to respect the coach. As unfortunate as it is. Because if you have 5 Radiants and your coach is in Platinum, I'm not sure if they would truly respect the opinion of that coach, because it's a big gap. And it would make the players wonder, why is that gap there? So they might say something and the coach would disagree, and they'll be thinking, but you don't know what it's like for us. Like, you don't really know how our games are going. And if you happen to have a coach of that rank, of a lower rank than your players, I would say talk it out with each other. The coach has to be a good person, but so do the players. The players also have to be good people. And they have to thresh it out together, saying, we just feel like there's a gap. There's a gap in the knowledge here. But that's not to say the players are right. Okay, I'm not saying that the players are right when they say this, because the coach has an objective opinion. I'm just saying that these players and the coach need to talk to each other and bridge that gap with each other. And if they don't want to do that, you have to consider, why do you have the coach there?
So maybe if there are any viewers here wanting to be a coach or an analyst but are stuck in plat or diamond, if your heart sunk there, what are some of your advice for those that aren't radiant and or immortal and don't really want to grind rank, but really love the game that they're breaking? They're doing pod reviews, they're doing analyst reviews. What's your opinions or advice for them that want to become coaches for team?
Reach out. If you really want to be a coach, reach out to even the smaller teams that you see potential in. If you truly want to be a coach, you must be able to see potential in all of your players and in all of the teams. You have to see their flaws, but especially their strengths. Because a lot of times it's so easy for us to point out everything we're doing wrong, and so difficult for us to say what we're good at. So if you see a team and not a lot of people have a lot of attention on that team, and you can tell how to make them better, try it out. Reach out to them and say, I'd like to coach you guys because I see something in you that we can work at, and there's something that we can fix and make you even better. But can you give me this chance to just coach you for a little while? And more often than not, you'll notice teams are willing to give people that chance.
So in the end, it's not just technically the players that are going, that are on the grind. As any aspiring coaches, you have to put in the work as well, and not just in analyzing videos, but making those connections, reaching out to teams and building relationships technically in the scene.
Yes. people aren't as scary as you think. I know a lot of people are very scared of me, especially from CSGO. I don't really know why, but I'm not that scary. So I would say just learn to talk to people and let yourself be vulnerable. I know that we have a very toxic scene here and there, especially FPS. It's always hard, but realize that we're only toxic because we really want something and we're working very hard for something. So that's what you have to tap into. Let them know they are strong, but you believe that they can be stronger and you'd like to help them in that direction. And I don't know of a team that would say no to someone wanting to help them be better.
So once again, guys, it's a grind. Just try, put yourself out there. And you miss all the shots you don't take.
Yes, true.
So I think that's my last question, formal question. Now we'll leave it to free discussion time for anyone in chat that might want to know more about Tr1cks or the coaching position. So let's just wait a bit for chat. And are there other things that you want to share or want to, anyone you want to shout out while waiting for chat?
Shout out to the other coaches in GXR, yo, Lion Nation and Pizza FPS. They put up with my like, they put up with me all the time, and mad respect for everyone, really, whether it be in Galaxy Racer or any of the other people on the grind. Like, I know it's hard. I know it's mentally taxing, but it's gonna be worth it. That grind is worth it when you think about all the memories you're gonna make with your team too. I still look back at some of the moments I have cried and yelled at my teammates. They yelled at me. We're all crying because we lost the game. All of these things, these little things, like, it makes the grind worth it because you'll look back at it and realize how precious those memories are, whether it be your opponents or your teammates or just friends that you end up making when you're abroad or in tournaments.
We have a question here. Who was the first agent you unlocked in the game?
Of course, it's Reina, guys. Like, when she still had four orbs that she could take in. That was the hard Reina main.
But can I presume or assume that Reina is your favorite agent?
She is no longer my favorite agent.
Oh, who is it? Who is it now?
Favorite? I don't really have an auto pick agent anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I like being on the Sentinel because it's, to me, if you have good game sense and have a very good read of your opponents, it's very easy to counter any team.
Mm-hmm. Sentinel or Sova, if I recall. I forgot which pro said that.
I like Sova.
How many lineups do you know? Average Jonas lineups or just geometry on the fly?
Usually it's geometry on the fly unless I notice a location where I really want the recon or the shock darts to go. Then I practice those. But usually, just kind of on the fly.
And here, another question from Amiwa. How do you guys deal with minis or bashers when playing on tournaments? Especially, I think, in Facebook chat where they keep saying, "Hey, I could be the replacement for that player in GXR." How do you deal with these people?
I'm going to bring it to an experience from yesterday with Liga Adarna. I know that there were some issues between the chat people. But essentially for me, all I can say is I would just go there and show respect to the opponents. And that's all we can do as players. Because even if chat doesn't respect the players need to respect each other. So I would say to any mean people or bashers, at the end of the day, do their words have more meaning than the players that were actually in the match? I would disagree and say that they don't have more meaning. So just show respect to each other, guys. Help the community grow by being respectful.
Because I think any company, any sponsor wouldn't want to invest money in a game where the community is kind of not brand friendly. So
Yeah.
the community has to do their part. You guys need to do your part in making this esports scene grow. So if you want to see your favorite players grow or play, if there are any GXR fans here, if you want to see your players shine, don't go out bashing other teams hoping that it tilts other fans or tilts any player watching the chat.
Oh,
So be good.
yes, if I may, before we move on to that, it's basically saying don't pull each other down just to get to the top. Just help each other get to the top.
That's true. It's like, why bring someone down? We're all here loving the game.
Yes.
Here's a question from Galaxy Racer C. Judge, yay or nay? I think we've seen a lot of Judge plays, especially in Masters 2, more than I would have hoped for.
Yeah, the Judge is good, guys. I hate to say it. Shotguns work here. They really work in Valorant. I think it really depends on your maps. It depends on your playstyle. The close corners, the Judge is really good. But if you want to peek C long in Haven, I'm not really sure it's going to work for you. So it really just depends on how you play.
Bringing a Judge on Breeze. On mid.
Yeah.
Let's see. Are there any other questions? Judge Master Race. Okay, there's a lot of many people enjoying the Judge. And I think this will be the last question for today's interview. What is your favorite map? And I'll add, if you could delete a map, what would that be?
Oh, easy. Breeze is deleted. But that's just because it's new. I have to admit, it's because it's new. My favorite map is definitely Bind. I think there's a lot of possible. I'm sorry, guys, if you love Breeze. No, it's just because I'm not comfortable with it yet. But Bind, it's just so technically rewarding. And if you're a smart player, it's also super rewarding because of the teleports.
How about your opinions on Split?
Split is a good map. It used to be my favorite map, really. I think that it's a lot of understanding of how a team works together, though. As Bind, your individual plays will shine, but on Split, your team plays will really shine.
The chat says the pain in my eyes. It's because I really dislike Split.
You dislike Split?
Yes, I dislike Split because of just how the design feels, where the choke points are already there and you're really forced to, how do I say this? You're kind of forced in the engagements where it's more mechanically aimed, or at least the map is more mechanically aimed. And my favorite map is Breeze, or kind of the opposite. Breeze, I love it because it requires a lot of game sense. So
I would say Breeze probably does. I just haven't played it enough to get comfortable with the map. I've had my fair share of Breeze games. They went pretty well. They're pretty breezy. But I don't know yet how I would feel about playing it on a tournament.
And I think VCT Stage 3, they're putting Breeze on the map pool.
Yes, I think all tournaments will start putting Breeze in the map pools now.
No, I can't wait to see what you plan and what GXR brings for Breeze gameplay. Unless, you guys are auto-banning Breeze, but...
We'll see about that.
So I think last words from you. Is there any plugs? Where can we find you and all that?
Guys and girls, if you haven't already, please follow Galaxy Racer SEA on Facebook. If you want to just follow us there, we also have our individual pages, which are GXR Tricks or GXR Ivory, GXR Aya. On top of that, I would just say last words primarily to the girls, because I know, hey, it's hard out there. Don't get disheartened, girls. It's a grind, and I know it's very difficult sometimes when we feel like people are bashing us or trash talking us, especially in ranked, the moment you say anything. But you have to understand that you need thicker skin than that. I'm not saying it's acceptable, but I'm saying it's how it is. So we just have to be stronger than our haters. And enjoy the game. To all the pros out there, remember why you started, remember why you're there. And if you feel lost, think back to it, and you're going to be right back where you started, and you're going to have more fun than before.
Thank you, Tr1cks. Get Pog Champs in chat for Tr1cks. Thank you once again, and I'll see you when I see you, Tr1cks. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. On the ending note of Tr1cks, so girls, I'm talking to the guys. Stop being toxic. Like, behave yourselves. We're here trying to grow the community. So, stop being weird, stop being mean, and just let's all enjoy the game. But thank you once again to Tr1cks for joining us in today's episode. So I hope you guys enjoyed or got to see the life of what a coach may be doing or how the dynamic of a coach is with the team. So I hope we also got to see how a coach might be very important in the growth of a team. And also that you don't have to be a player to have impact in the scene or in a team. So for anyone out there that wants to be an analyst coach, as Tr1cks said, just reach out. It doesn't have to be the big wig teams like Bren or GXR. You just look out for communities with their smaller teams, and you feel that, hey, I want to try out coaching. Reach out to them. So if you just joined me today or now in the ending, so if you missed parts, don't worry. We will be posting the full video over at our YouTube channel within the week, mostly Saturday or Sunday. So be sure to also give a follow to our different channels such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and also be part of our Discord community as we hold frequently scrims over the week. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And if you don't want to join the scrims, you can also watch our scrims as we stream them over on this Twitch channel. So see you guys on the next episode.